Hello friends, Mel Jeffcoat here. Today I'm going to tell you about a thing called a Leitner Box, which is a method of doing spaced repetition study with index cards. Um, and I've been using this to study German vocabulary, and I'm going to turn around here in just a moment and show you how to use this. Alright friends, here it is. Um, so a Leitner box consists of 12 folders or boxes. There is the current. The cards that are in each folder are referred to as decks. So you've got your current deck, which you check every day. And at the very end, you've got a retired deck, which are ones that you've gone through. And then the 10 in between are numbered in a particular way. So if you see this first one here, 0, 2, 5, 9. What these refer to are the sessions. So you do 10 sessions basically for one round, numbered from 0 to 9, and I keep track of them with these cards. So what happens is when you go through your current deck every day, and then if you know something, then you move it into the folder that begins with whatever session you're on. So today is session 1. I'd go through my current deck, and anything that I didn't need to study anymore that I knew would go right over here in folder 1, 1360. Now, in addition to doing your current deck every day, you also do all of the decks that are in folders that contain the day's session number. So day number 1, this one, 1360, 2471, 6815, and 9148. So there will always be 4 folders in addition to your current that you go through. Now, you'll notice that looking at this 0 one here, you basically, on the 0th day, you've studied it, then on day number 2, then on day 5, and then on day 9. So the length of time in between when you study increases each time. Now, how do things get sent over to the retired deck? After you have gone completely through one set of these sessions, so you've gone 0 to 9 and you're back around to 0, that's when things start to go into retired. So when you take a look at a deck, if the first number matches your session number, so that'd be 1 today, then anything that you go through in that deck that you know goes over to the retired folder. And anything that you don't know at any time, if you're going through any of these decks other than the current one, if you don't know something, it goes back to the current and starts over again. So this is the basic system that you can find described on the Wikipedia article for the Leitner box. I have made some slight modifications. So over here in retired, you'll see that I've got these dividers. The reason for that is because, so if you notice here, you skip 1 day, and then you skip 2 days, and then you skip 3 days, okay, to 9. But then when you go back around to 0, the day that you're reviewing is exactly 1 day after the previous one. And this is that 0, when you come back around to it, that's when you decide if things go to retired or not. but you've just reviewed them the day before. So I think that that would tend to select for things that you maybe don't actually know as well as you might. So that's why I've put these dividers in here, and they separate out each day's worth, each session's worth of retired cards. This is sort of a provisional retirement. So now that I have completely filled all of these in, I've gone through an entire second set of sessions. So there are 10 chunks in the retired folder. Now, each day, I just take a look at the first chunk. That's the very first thing I do. And at that point, it will have been in the retired folder for 10 days. And so I review it one more time to make sure that I still really actually know them. And then, once they pass there, then I take them into this other box, which I can't open one-handed, to just store the things that are actually retired. And I haven't quite decided a time period for this, but I do intend to review the actual retired box on a regular basis, just to make sure that I still remember things. So that may be a little bit confusing, so let's just go ahead and walk through my workflow. Now that you know what each of these folders are for and sort of how you go through things. So here we are. Oh, one more thing. Back at the back, these are my new flashcards that I haven't gotten to yet. So those are just staged and waiting for their time to go into the system. So the very first thing that I do at the beginning of a session is I go over to the retired folder and I pull whatever is in the very first chunk before the first divider, and I review these. And if there's something that I don't actually remember after 10 days, then it goes back to the current folder. And otherwise, these get pulled out and they'll get filed in this box in alphabetical order so I can find them easily in the future and check to see if I've already got a flashcard in the future, for example. And then the divider, whoops, the divider goes around to the back so that it'll be ready for the next one. Alright, then the next thing that I do is I take a look at what session we're at. Today, session 1, and I go to the folder that begins with that session, 1360. And at this point, since it matches the day, this is when I'm determining if these cards, if this deck, can go to provisional retirement. So I would go through all of these. Anything that I don't know goes back to current. Everything that I do know gets pulled out and put at the back of retired, behind that divider that I just put in there. Okay. Then, now that I've done that, that frees up this space here. And so when I later get to my current deck, I'll have an open space to put the things that I can take out of current today. But before I do that, I go ahead and review all of the other folders that have a number 1. So I'd review this one, and this one, and this one. And again, anything that I don't remember in this review comes back to current to try again. And anything that I do know stays in that folder. It only gets moved to retired if the first number is the session number. Okay? And once I've gone through all of those, then it's time to go take a look at the current deck. And when I'm finding things back in these folders that are going to go back to current, I don't put them in current right away because I haven't reviewed it yet and I don't want to accidentally put those out into a folder. I want them to stay in current for at least one day. So I just set them aside until I have gone through the current folder. So then I pull out current, and again, anything that I don't know immediately stays in current, and anything that I do know gets moved over to this empty folder here, 1360. And then once that's done, so now the current folder is smaller or maybe even empty, then I go back to my waiting cards and I pull out 10 to 15 new ones to study. However many you pull out is up to you, how easily you learn things, how difficult the subject is. With German, if I pull out 15 cards, there's a good chance that at least 5 of them I either already know because I've learned them, or they're cognates, so they're very easy to learn. So I'm finding that 15 cards works pretty well. I can generally get most of them out of current within a day. So yeah, that's how the Leitner box works when it's analog. You may be familiar with something software called Anki, or there's other flashcard software which does the same thing, the spaced repetition, but in a digital format. But I prefer working in analog. It's less annoying, and I find that it works better. So this system makes the spacing of the repetition formulaic, and you don't have to think about it. Once you understand the algorithm, then you can just work through it, and you can do as little or as many, as few or as many cards as you want per day, depending on how much time you have and how much energy you have to put into it. And that's how you can control how much you're learning. So with that, I will finish up. Until next time, keep exploring.